All right, so what is the torque difference between an electric semi-truck and a traditional diesel mechanical drive semi-truck? Stay with me, this video is going to get kind of math heavy. Let's look at an X15 Cummins. So an X15 puts out about 1850 to 2000 foot-pounds of torque, and notice the torque curve on a diesel motor. It goes up and then down, it has a peak range. Now that's the torque coming off the back end of this motor. And obviously 2000 isn't a ton, so what we do is we send it through a transmission, which does a gear reduction that gives it a little bit more torque. In case of this truck, it then goes through another transmission to further reduce it. Most trucks don't have auxiliaries. This is a specialized heavy haul thing, so we're just going to ignore that for the math. But then it goes through a set of rear ends, which is a further gear reduction. All right, let's look at first gear. An 18 speed gives you a gear reduction in first of 8.56. Now let's say these rear ends are a 411 reduction. So what you do is you multiply the 8.5 by the 411. It gives you about a 34 total reduction. So a 34 reduction with a starting speed of 1200 RPM in first gear gives you 741,000 inch-pounds. 740,000 inch-pounds works out to about 61,000 foot-pounds of torque. That's what an X15 is putting out to the wheels. Then once you hit 18th gear, or 8th high, you have a 0.73 reduction. That's what gives you your long legs for going faster. Once you get a 0.73 off the transmission, 411s, that gives you a total gear reduction of about 3 to 1. A 3 to 1 ratio at 1700 RPM for cruising speed gives you 63,000 inch-pounds. So the torque on an X15 is 63,000 inch-pounds, which gives you a total torque of 5,000 foot-pounds, and you're in 18th gear at 1700 RPM. Now let's have a look at this Allison E-axle. That's just the axle. There's no transmission in it. It already has the gear reduction built in. And with that gear reduction, it gives you a total of 47,000 Newton meters of torque. 47,000 Newton meters equals about 35,000 foot-pounds of torque, which means on a tandem drive truck with two axles, you have 70,000 foot-pounds of torque compared to 60,000 foot-pounds with a traditional mechanical drive. It would probably be about the same if you were running like 433 rear ends instead of 411s. It would be about the same. Now we're building a logging truck, and most logging trucks in British Columbia all have 3 drive axles. So if every one of those is a drive axle, which they're required to be under law, if you have 3 axles on the ground, all of them have to drive. You can't have tags in Canada. So the total of that would be about 110,000 foot-pounds of torque at the wheel compared to 60,000 foot-pounds with a normal X15. Plus, you can convert all that power of that motors into holdback with regenerative braking. And that's not even including if you do the steer axle. The amount of torque you can have is absolutely insane off of electric. Plus, that torque curve, electric motors have an even torque curve. You have that power right at the far end of your range. So when you're hammering on her at 100 kilometers an hour, you still have full torque going to that. Whereas you can see with the X15, you have 3,000 instead of 60,000. You just keep that torque.